Hello traders, today is Saturday, December 29, 2024. I was gone for about a week almost. I was on the East Coast and now I'm back. Anyways, we're going to start the video with Apple. Keep in mind, this is not financial advice. This content is for educational purposes only. Do your own research and due diligence before you risk your capital into any type of investment. Anyways, look at Apple. It looks, in my opinion, well, let's go back to my last video. And on my last video, which I did mention, Apple was on Saturday the 21st, right before I was getting in the airplane. And we were looking at this candle. We actually continue going up for a few more days. And then on the fourth day of trading, which was Friday, we had a little bit of a sell-off. It's actually pretty, a good amount of selling, considering that the size of Apple, and we went down 1.3%. And let's take a look at the 5-minute because and I want to do something here before we continue. Let's do that. Okay. This is looking not too good. You had sellers coming in, and then buyers came back. You went over this what it was at one point on the 5-minute. Support, resistance, and now support again. Anyways, I do think that we still might have a little bit more of a push to the upside. Towards the end of the year, we have a couple of more days of trading, and that's pretty much it. And next week is also going to be, if I am correct, a short week, low volume week, which means that things might get a little volatile. One of the reasons I think we had a pretty aggressive sell-off last week was because volume was low, and towards the end of the year, people tend to sell, their losses and cover their losses for taxes. Anyways, as far as I can see on the chart, I'm gonna be honest, this looks extended, still looking extended. It was extended up here, and then you had a little bit of a drop, and then you got into the trend line and then continue going up. And sorry, my kid is screaming in the background. And anyways, on Friday, we came down towards this level of support, which was prior highs, and then buyers came back up, and then you closed a little bit above 254. We'll see what happens tomorrow and the following day, and see how the stock is going to behave. But I think it's a little bit extended. Don't be surprised if you go down towards 244, 248, or even maybe this trend line, and see how we react on that area. You have low volume here as well, so there's low liquidity in this area, keep in mind. And MACD and TSI are kind of pointing down, are a little bit elevated, not a little bit, they are elevated. And the RSI is already coming back under the 70 area and is pointing down. So I wouldn't be surprised if we actually continue seeing red, which I wouldn't mind in the case of Apple because we had this outstanding move for so long. And let's measure it. And if we go from this candle on, what was it? We are starting on November 4th towards Thursday of last week. That was an increase of almost 20%. That's incredible. I did take advantage of a lot of these moves. I was day trading this name for quite a while, and the reason why I was day trading is because I'm still seeing that things are getting extended. People are, FOMOing a little bit, and I just wanted to take money every opportunity that I had. Again, I do believe that if we break this level of support at 245, give or take, or I'm sorry, 255, give or take, we're probably going to continue going towards 249 or 248. If we break, then we have to see what happens on this trend line, and we'll see where these indicators are once we get to that point. Low liquidity in this area is also something that is a little bit worrisome. Now, let's move on to the next name, and that is AFRM. And let me take a quick note here. It's not looking bad, to be honest. I think if you ask me, I think if we break that 35 SMA and we go straight to the support line, we're probably going to continue going down. you have actually room to go down under all the way under 50, somewhere in this area right here, about 50 or 49. We'll see how we react. I love the fact that it's in range right here, while the indicators, the MACD and the TSI and the RSI as well, are actually cooling down and going towards their zero lines. That's a good indication. And so things are not getting too crazy, but I do believe that if there is more selling pressure coming, you're probably gonna break 61, which is this line right here, and possibly going towards 55 or even lower towards 50. The reason why I'm saying that is because you are also lacking liquidity in this area right here. So that's what I have for a firm. Be very mindful of this area on the 35 SMA, which is this green line right here, and also keep a close eye on the 61 level. I think that if we go towards 50 or whatnot, we might have a nice rebound in January or maybe February. We'll see how long it takes to go down if we do, and there might be an opportunity to actually jump back in. I still think that a firm actually has more to the upside, but it has to cool down a little bit more. That's my take on this as far as what I can see on the chart. Now let's move on to a name that is being something very interesting happened. Let's talk about AMD. And something interesting happened on Friday. Most of these names, let's see, on this list, were absolutely, they were selling off. Pretty much everything was red, as you can see here. And AMD was one of those that actually stayed green, almost flat, but green. There were other names, American Airlines. By the way, I did come back on American Airlines. What a disaster of a company American Airlines is. But anyways, let's go back to AMD. What I'm seeing here, let's go to the 5-minute. I want to see how the 5-minute looks. So you had a massive sell-off. On Friday, I was looking at this move and I was like, okay, this is looking good compared to everything else. And then you had this massive sell-off. And I was like, well, I was looking at the 1 minute actually. And I saw this. And I did post something on X really quick from my phone. And I mean, this was pretty impressive, especially if you were shorting. But what happened later, let's go to the 5, I'm sorry. What happened later is that buyers actually stepped in and you moved up towards, you went red to green. That was pretty good. And then after, you had a little of a sell-off, you had a rebound on the 200 SMA, we're on the 5-minute chart, keep in mind, and then you were flat after hours. I do think that is very positive for AMD at least. It is very important that AMD maintains the 229 or 221 support level, or 222 if you want to, and in order to continue going to the upside. I know a lot of people are already buying 140 calls. I have 135 calls. I wanted to be a little more conservative, and I actually started buying more somewhere in this area right here, in one of these candles. I think it was on this red candle, or this one. I think it was on Monday actually, when we were low, and I started buying a little bit more. Not by a lot. So I'm increasing my position. I have June or July. I don't have my brokerage account open, but I think I have June calls, 135. So I added a few more calls, and we'll see how these perform. I am red, but not by a large margin, so I'm not too concerned. And I want to see how this behaves. The behavior that we saw on Friday looks pretty positive, but that doesn't mean that it's not gonna get killed next week. I mean, next week I think is going to be, starting tomorrow, it's going to be eventful as far as lack of volume and volatility coming in. In these indicators, MACD is not looking bad at all. The RSI, the TSI, I'm sorry, is not looking bad. Kind of neutral, to be honest, under the zero line, both of them. That's also good. I like to see this kind of move to the upside under the zero line. Now, you had something similar here. Keep this in mind. You had a little move to the upside, and then you sold off again. So don't be surprised if this happens again. Now, if you go down towards 112, that would be an absolute gift. I think, well, at that point, my calls would not look too good, but I would probably increase my position if we go down towards this area. I would prefer if we retest for support at 121 and then go back, or 121 or 122, and then go back towards 134. Again, these indicators are looking pretty decent. RSI is kind of neutral. It's over the signal line, but in my opinion, it's kind of neutral. So let's keep an eye on on AMD and see how it behaves next week. Hopefully, buyers step in and we see more opportunity here to make some money. Let's move on to the next. I thought I was going to mention ASTS, but it's not on the list. Okay, to AVGO. Let me take a note here. One of the things that is worrisome here is that we might be hitting a double top. And if we do, if we get rejected on this resistance level, which is prior all-time highs, then you can really rush to the downside. You have low liquidity here. This is not good. MACD and TSI, especially the MACD, is looking very precarious in my opinion. The TSI also, but the MACD is, specifically the MACD is not looking too good compared to what we have seen in the past. Look at this. Look how elevated you are compared to the past. In prior videos, when we were up here, I was saying that this gap was gonna eventually fill. Now, I could be wrong, but I think at least partially we're probably gonna fill this gap. We had a little bit of a sell-off, and then you're coming back toward highs, but we'll see if we get rejected, or we'll see if this is an indication, this candle right here, this little hammer right here, is an indication that we're gonna actually start going down. Keep a close eye on the move on AVGO. I don't have any positions on AVGO, but and the reason why, which is because earnings were coming here, and I really wanted to jump in, but I don't like to play earnings, and so I didn't take this move. It would have been fantastic if I had calls, because on the technical level, what I was saying is, and we were gonna go to the upside, and we did, but I didn't want to trade this day right here, which is earnings. We'll see how we react on resistance at 252.4, give or take 252, let's call it, and see if we're gonna start going down. What scares me a little bit is that you don't have liquidity here, and you basically have nothing in this area right here, which is going, if we hit this area and there's momentum on the sell side, you will hit 187 quick, which might be actually a good thing if you actually retest it and then you come back up. Or if you retest a 35 SMA somewhere in this area. That's why I'm saying you can also fill this partially and then come back towards 252. We'll see what happens. I think, again, next week is going to be quite eventful, considering that it's going to be a low volume week. And it's the last trading days of the year as well. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Write this down. It's not looking bad. Let me explain why. Back on Friday, on Friday when I was on the 21st, we were looking at this candle right here, this one right here. And one of the things that I said is that you have to maintain this range. If you break this range at 91 or 92, you're probably going to go down towards 86 or even down towards 77 because you have lack of liquidity in this area. Well, we are maintaining this range, which is a good thing. And we're also cooling down these indicators. The MACD and the TSI are actually going down towards the zero line without breaking support levels. I think that is very important, and that's a good thing to keep in consideration. The RSI has, the TSI has a very decent level of divergence between the TSI line and the signal line. So, I think this move is, I think I really like the fact that we are not actually selling off aggressively towards 86 and even 77. That is actually a good thing. Now, don't be surprised that if you break 92, you go to 86. But I think that we're consolidating this area very, very nicely. I think, again, another thing that is worth pointing out, 77 should still be in play in case of a sell-off. And again, the reason why I'm saying this is because we have, even as you know, if you zoom out, we have a lack of liquidity in this area. That's a little bit worrisome. But for now, let's just focus on 92 and how, if we break, or how we retest it, or if we break it, with how much momentum we're going to break if we do the support level towards 86. And then you have to keep a close eye to what is happening here. Again, you have this area of low liquidity that sometimes, not always, could be a magnet towards the direction in which they are. In this case, are going, to the downside, and that is a little bit of a, it's a little bit worrisome, as I just mentioned. But on the positive side, I like the fact that these indicators are slowing down to the downside. They are not really rushing to the downside, and you're still in range between 99 or let's say 100, which is a prior high, and then you are between 91 and 99. That's what I'm, or 92 and 99, 92 and 100. And those, both of them are prior highs. I actually like this level better than this because you have more candle wicks on these areas right here. That's what I have for Bitcoin. Keep an eye on that support level at 92, and also keep in mind a possibility of going to 86 if we break 92, or even 77 if we break 86. That is going to be in play for next week, in my opinion. Now let's move on to this name that I'm loving, and I'm just waiting on this thing, and I'm glad that it didn't move, if I can find it, while I was traveling or on vacation, and that is GEV. Now this thing has been in range for a while, and one thing that is worth pointing out: last time this thing was to the upside, well, is the IPO was on March, but the last time this thing got in range, it actually propelled to the upside. You don't have any indicators for the 200 SMA for obvious reasons, and of course you don't have the 326 SMA. So for now, you only have the 35 SMA. Now maybe for a chart like this, you can, let's turn this into a 50 SMA and see how that looks. Not this. Maybe I shouldn't. Settings. No, let's do, where is, no, that's a 325 SMA. This one is the one I want. Okay, let's see how this looks with a 50 SMA. And in this case, it might be better to have the 50 SMA than 35 SMA. But so look at this. You had this nice rebound on the 50 SMA, and now you're still in range. It was down almost 3% on Friday. We'll see how we react next week. I think if you break support, you're probably going to have a little bit of a turn down, maybe retest, and maybe you can continue going down. I mean, I'm not following this for a move to the downside. If this, if this breaks support at 316, I obviously wouldn't trade it. But if we retest support or retest at 35 SMA or that 50 SMA, then I love this to the upside. This just needs time. I love the fact that it's taking so long. I mean, we have been in range since November 6th. We're almost January, so that is almost 3 months, definitely 2 full months. So we'll see how we react on this. And but I love it. I really like to see how things are going. And yeah, for this type of charts that you really don't have a lot of information, maybe the 50 SMA is better than the 35 SMA. Another worrisome thing is, and you don't have a lot of liquidity here, but you have a very strong level of liquidity here. Keep that in mind. Again, if we retest support at 316 or 317 and then continue going towards new highs, that would be fantastic. I'm just waiting for this move. MACD and TSI are looking a little bit bearish. I'm not going to lie to you, but the fact that this is, respecting this level right here tells you a lot. MACD or RSI, I'm sorry, is actually looking down. So keep a close eye on how we're going to behave here. This level right here, 316, is crucial for this setup. So until we don't break this, I'm gonna keep looking. If we break, I'm probably gonna give it some time or forget about it and move on into something else. But I've been mentioning GEV for a while. I did mention it on the 21st on my last video, and I did mention this name, if I could see on my notes, on the 11th, and then I've been mentioning it quite often in some of my videos because I really like the setup. Looks like the 11th was the last or the first time that I mentioned it. Yeah, I think so. Okay, cool. So that's what I have for GV. Let's move on to Google. I actually like Google. Let me write this down. Right now, this level right here, which is prior all-time highs, is crucial. 390. This price is right here. 393, 394. I think if we break this to the downside, you're going straight to 183, or maybe even to fill this gap. I don't have a position on Google anymore, which I did on a lot of these moves right here. Especially, I had Google on the earnings move, so I did buy somewhere in this red candle, and then I sold right on the top of this one, and then I took advantage of the 200 SMA behavior on Google, and I think I did catch this gap up again. So Google has been very generous to me in the last 2 months. But for now, let's just keep an eye on 194 and see how the price action is going to behave. You can also argue right here, and maybe you are forming, if you don't consider this week right here, a double top. So also keep that in mind. You have low liquidity here between 194 and 183. That's concerning. So we could actually continue going down towards 183 or 184, and then we have to keep an eye on how we're going to behave on the 35 SMA, which is this line right here. If we break under 184, then you're definitely going to feel this gap. That's my take. MACD and TSI don't look to extend it. They're a little bit bearish at this point, but they really don't look to extend it. The RSI looks fine. It's pointing down. Yeah, I'll give you that. But for now, I think we just have to keep an eye on these stocks. I'm not sure if I'm on a trade. I didn't trade last week other than adding positions on Nvidia and AMD, but I didn't, and I was traveling, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna trade this week either. You know, I think it's gonna be a little choppy, and I just rather take care of my capital and wait. You know, the last 2 or 3 months have been pretty incredible as far as trading, so I don't mind taking a break from buying or selling or trading in general. Again, this level right here, 194, is crucial. If we don't rebound right now, it looks like we might not, and if we break it, 183 or 184 is where you're going to land. Now let's take a look at another stock that I constantly look at, and that is HIMS. And let me take a note on the time. And then, you know, on Friday, you were down almost 7%, 6.77%. MACD and TSI continue looking pretty bearish. This level right here, now, if you remember how this was looking back a couple of weeks back, you basically had no liquidity here. So now from all-time highs, pretty much, all the way down to 23 or 21, you have a pretty decent level of liquidity here. That is actually very good. I wouldn't be surprised, and now that we are well under the 35 SMA, we're going to continue going down towards 25.50 and then maybe towards 23.50. It is crucial to maintain this level right here, which was actually maintained in prior sessions. As you had here, you had buyers coming back in, and then the same here. But on Friday, the story was a little bit different. You had a sell-off throughout the entire day. Buyers couldn't do anything, pretty much. But we'll see. Again, 25.5, crucial for this move. If it breaks towards 23 or even 21, which I think 21.7 or 22 is still in play, yet you have this level of this volume shelf right here, which might give you a little bit of resistance, breaking towards towards this support, into the support level. If we get back to 23 or even 21, I think I would definitely buy September or maybe October calls for HIMS, and I'm pretty sure they would actually do pretty well. I think this move to the downside was very necessary. I mean, things got a little bit like out of control, and some of them were because of catalysts due to Amazon announcements or reports or whatnot. Reports that were actually a copy and paste from prior reports, especially that Amazon report that some analysts did, I believe. And then you also had the news on Eli Lilly, that brought a couple of very aggressive red days on HIMS, but then buyers actually came back in, and then you had new all-time highs. But I think it was necessary to actually bring the price action down towards at least 23.5, so you get a little more of a healthy looking volume profile on this stock. I think that fundamentally, HIMS is going to do fantastic next year. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if we actually hit the 70s or even we go higher than that. But it might take some time. Yet I'm just waiting for an opportunity to jump in. Again, I didn't trade last week, but on Friday I was definitely looking at the market and I was like, man, this is looking good. I love what I'm seeing here. And I also like the fact that these indicators are now going into normal levels. You're going to hit the zero line probably tomorrow at one point if you go down towards 2550. If you have another day like Friday, let's say a 7% sell-off, then you're definitely going to be very close to, or yeah, very close to 23.5, and that would be fantastic. At this point, somewhere anything between 21 or 23 and 21, or even 23 and 18, at that point you're at the 200 SMA. That's a massive opportunity to actually get back into HIMS. For now, I'm just letting it play. I want to see how it behaves, and it's actually doing what I was hoping it was doing. What I was hoping HIMS would do actually. So looking good, even though we're going down, it's looking good. I want this thing to cool off. Another name that I wish it was doing something similar was Hood, but Hood is actually not behaving as much. I would love to see Hood somewhere in this area right here at 30, or under 30. Anyways, that's what I have for HIMS. And now let's take a look at IWM. And let me take a note here really quick. This thing has room to continue going towards a 200 SMA at least. You have a little bit of, you're going to find resistance on this area right here. You have a very decent amount of liquidity on this volume shelf, which is fine, but MACD and TSI, RSI are not looking good. And I think the market right now, especially next week, are going to be, a little bit on the red side. Hopefully I'm wrong, because I do have two positions, Nvidia and AMD, and I would love to see them going a little bit higher. But at the same time, based upon what I'm seeing on the on the charts, I have a thought that this is probably going to continue going to the downside. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm turning bearish on some names. What I think is in the market is cooling down, just because of the holidays and whatnot, lack of volume, and and taxes, tax seasons, or well, this is the end of the year, so you want to sell some of your losses, for tax purposes. So that could be some of the indications, and also a little bit of a maybe political situations or whatnot. I have no idea in that respect, but what I see is that we might actually see a little bit of a cool off towards at least next week. We'll see. I do think that IWM is gonna go down towards the 200 SMA. And the only thing that might actually provide a little bit of support or a little of resistance to the downside is this area of high volume right here, which and the reason why you have this area right here is because you had this level right here, or this area. Let's put so you can see it better. You have this area right here of range per se. So we'll see. Interesting that I just put this, and if we go towards 215, you're gonna meet the 200 SMA as well. So that kind of makes sense. That's what I have for IWM. Let's move on to, oh, look at this. Let's go to Meta. Take a note right here. Okay, this is looking great. It does have more room to continue going down. We'll see how we behave on this resistance level at 603. But I think it's more important to take a look at this trend line, and also, this trend line, and also this level at 575. MACD and TSI are looking bearish, RSI as well. So we'll see. I think that we are probably going to continue going down if we get another rejection on resistance at 603. Yeah, I actually like, I want to see Meta continue going down. I want to see a lot of names right now going down into lower levels. And for the only reason is because I want to buy calls and jump on them again. There's going to be this level right here, 175, is pretty strong as far as volume and liquidity. And you also, the MACD and the TSI are pointing down towards the short line, but they don't look bad. I mean, this could curl and give a continuation to the upside as well. You also have, again, a level of resistance as far as liquidity in this area going towards the downside at 555. So we'll see how we behave. If you break this level right here, things might get to the upside, resistance to the upside. Things might get actually interesting, and you might get a continuation. But I love what I saw last week as far as, or the prior week, going down towards this level under the 35 SMA, and then you came back, and then you are on the 35 SMA again, and right under resistance at 603. This is not looking bad. I just want to give it a little bit more of time. And again, I don't think it's worth, in my opinion, trade too aggressively next week. I think next week we're going to have an opportunity to give a lot of these names some time to really tell you the story, and really give you the setup that maybe you're looking for. At least that's how I'm approaching next week. Let's move on to Microsoft. And this is also looking fantastic, in my opinion. I did take advantage of this move to the upside. It was a fantastic trade. I was day trading for the most part. So I was and swing trading. So I was taking some calls and selling the next day, buying again, selling, and rinse and repeat. And I did it up until maybe this candle right here, and then I left it alone. Then you had a sell-off. How much is this? 3.76. Wow. On Wednesday the 18th. That was 2 weeks ago. And then, on Friday, you went down 1.73%. Let's take a look at the 5-minute. I like this candle. Sell off. Buyers try to come in, and look at this level right here. Perfection. You hit it basically on after hours. On that is incredible. You got to work with levels. Do yourself a favor and, draw some levels, or copy the levels that you have on these charts, and work with them. They are really helpful. Anyways, you have this area at 430, very strong level, just like 415 right here was super strong as well. You almost hit the 200 SMA on the daily, and then you came back up. That's good. You're right under the 35 SMA. Keep that in mind. You're right under this level of what I would call resistance right now, which was support. So you're right under at 430.5. We'll see what comes next week. If we continue going to the downside, you're going towards 415. If you break, or if you go under the 200 SMA. So if you break the 200 SMA, this line right here, you're probably gonna go straight to 415, which would be fantastic because this level of support is pretty strong, and you're probably gonna move up after that. If you break 315, I'm sorry, 415, you're going straight to that 35 SMA, somewhere in this area right here, for 7 or give or take. Interesting. This is looking fantastic. I don't have a position on Microsoft, but again, I'm waiting for this. I'm hoping for these things to actually continue going down, to be honest. But I wouldn't be surprised if this rebound on the 200 SMA is actually going to move you down up towards 443. Things on the MACD and the TSI are looking bearish, and the RSI are looking more on the bearish side. So we'll see again what brings tomorrow, how we behave on the 200 SMA. Maybe tomorrow you have a lot of buyers coming in after, after Friday, after a red day, which is it's also common. But again, you have to keep an eye on your behavior on the 200 SMA. It will be fantastic if we go towards 415. It could happen, but again, don't be surprised if you also see buyers stepping in tomorrow. 200 SMA is where you are, where the line is drawn. In this case, if you break to the downside, 415 is coming. If you maintain, then you're probably gonna play a little bit with this level of resistance at 430, and then might move towards 443. These names are looking great. Meta, Microsoft, even Tesla. These names are looking great because I think if they continue going down, there's gonna be another opportunity, to get back in and reposition yourself for dated calls, or in my case, I do calls, or maybe buying shares to the upside. That's what I have from Microsoft. Let's go back to, I want to do MicroStrategy. And let me see. Oh, wow, it's 2 p.m. already. Okay, this is not looking too good, to be honest. I think that we're probably going to hit 240, 278 or 279 pretty soon. We'll see how Bitcoin behaves, and we'll see what kind of news we get from MicroStrategy. But I do think that we're going to hit this level right here. You have low liquidity in this area. MACD and TSI are not looking good. The RSI is also not looking good. They're right on the zero line, especially the MACD and the TSI. And the behavior on that chart is indicating that you're probably going to hit or fill this gap right here. You have a tiny gap right here, and fill this liquidity gap before you actually continue going up. I could be wrong, but I think there is going to be more selling pressure on this name. And let's take a look at on the 15-minute. Yeah, that trend is continuing to take you down. So there might be an opportunity actually going down to 279 or 280, and maybe you can take advantage of the situation. But we'll see. You have to see how you are behaving between 361 and 279 or 280. This is crucial. But I just think that this is going to continue going down towards 280. That's what I'm thinking. And again, these indicators are basically telling you that story. We'll see again, as I just mentioned while I was checking on Microsoft. You might have buyers stepping in tomorrow. I don't know, but this is these weeks are slow, so don't be surprised if you actually get a little bit of a gift with this name going down towards 279 or even lower. But for now, let's just keep an eye on 280 and an eye on your resistance level at 361. Now I'm almost done with the video. This actually took a little bit longer than what I thought. And let's do Nvidia. And I had a drawing here of a head and shoulder. I think I did put that on X. Now, one of the things that is very interesting is that when those setups fail, they really tend to move in the opposite direction very, very nicely. So if you had this head and shoulders right here, the tendency is that it's going to go down or continue going down, which you had this move right here. But if you are actually failing on that pattern, then the move, a lot of the times, tends to be a little bit aggressive to the upside. Now Friday, Nvidia didn't do well at all from the get-go, and then sell or buyers didn't actually step in. This was, uh, I don't know. I did buy a little bit of more options on Friday for Nvidia, and I think I have 140 options, which, yeah, I'm betting for this area right here. So my options is still green because I started buying down here, and and then I bought more on Friday. So we'll see how these behave. MACD and TSI are looking neutral in my opinion. They don't look bearish or bullish right now. The RSI is not giving you a good indication. If it crosses the signal line on the daily, that would actually put you under this support level at 136, which is very strong, by the way. So we'll see how things come around tomorrow. And hitting 130 could also be very, very possible. It would be another opportunity for me to buy, to be honest. I have July calls for Nvidia, so we'll see how this behaves. But for now, I'm just keeping a close eye on this level right here, 137 or 136, I'm sorry, and this level right here, which has been very stubborn. It couldn't break on Tuesday. I was looking at this name on Tuesday, and my calls were doing fantastic, but I was like, I'm just gonna hold because they're July, and if there's a sell-off, I'm just probably gonna buy a little bit more, which I did on Friday. And I did it early in the morning because that's I was in a hotel, and I was like, well, so I bought somewhere in this area under this level right here. Again, we just have to keep an eye on this support level at 136, which in my opinion is pretty strong, and then we'll see how we behave on the 35 SMA and resistance at 141 or 140 as a psychological level. Now let's move on to my last name, and that is Tesla. Wow, 42 minutes on the video. This is not looking too good. I do believe that we are possibly going down towards 365. Hate me for that if you want to. If you don't, if you break this level of support, which is this high right here, so that level of support at 416, is it, or what is it? At 420, give or take. And this is back from November 2021. If you don't actually, if you break that level of support, you're going down to 365, straight to 365. I wouldn't even worry or consider the 35 SMA in this case. So you would go down towards this level, and maybe even towards 329, 330, which would be fantastic, because again, this might give you an opportunity to jump back in on Tesla. This move right here that was very, very how you call it, aggressive, has a possibility to bring you this move to the downside, all the way down, or maybe to go under 300. I don't know, that's too early to tell. So keep an eye on this level of support at 418 or 420, give or take. You're also looking here at a double top. Would you close Friday or almost 5%? Let's go take a look at that 15-minute and see how. Yeah, and it was flat after hours. So yeah, MACD and TSI, they are elevated and pointing down, so that's also not good. So my bet on this would be to the downside. I'm not gonna trade this to the downside, and I don't, or maybe I'll day trade it tomorrow, because it's not looking bad to the downside. But what I would like to see here is how we are gonna behave at the support level at 418, and if we break it, how we are going to take the 365 level. That's basically it. So for now, keep an eye on this range right here. All-time high is 488, and then you have this level at 365. So my range right now is this all-time highs and then 365. Okay, traders, this took a little bit longer than what I wanted, but anyways, see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.